good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second installment of our ongoing series, The Art of Financial Freedom. Last July 21, we launched this series through the first session with Mr. Stanley Cheng, discussing and answering the questions revolving around the mindsets and definition of financial freedom. If you missed it or want to revisit, the recorded live version is now available on our YouTube and Facebook channel. But wait, there's more. The podcast version, where more questions are answered, is now accessible in 412 Spotify account, our ministry partner also under Home Church. On that note, this one will also be uploaded on the mentioned platforms, and we are currently live on Facebook and YouTube. Feel free to share the link with your friends. You may see it in our Zoom chat. And to proceed with the succeeding sessions of the series, we will be focusing on a more detailed and practical approach. And for tonight, we will hear about savings and budgeting. And to give you a quick background, our speaker manages a commissary bakery, and he has finished his MA in Intercultural Urban Studies at Asian Theological Seminary. Can't wait to hear from Pastor Justin Uy.
Okay, thank you for that warm intro. Okay, so hi everyone. My topic for this evening is on savings and budgeting, and like was mentioned a while ago, we're on our second session, so we go more in depth on what it means to achieving financial freedom. So hello everyone. I'm excited about this talk because I think 5 or 6 years ago, we gave a similar talk within our company, talking about finances, managing, and it's just nice how in 5 or 6 years' time, a lot of things have happened from my own personal experience, the things I've learned, that I shared before that I feel that may not be applicable anymore, and the things that I have learned or have grown further as I delve deeper into the topic. So right now, as we tackle savings and budgeting, it's not uh like know it all be all. Like it's not the standard, because nowadays with social media, with all the knowledge out there, there are a lot of practical tips that we can gain from here and there. But what we'd like to learn is, here as a community here in Home Church, it's a venue that where we can share and interact, where we can learn from one another. And the format with having Zoom, or the best part about being in this medium, is we can interact. So with that, I'd like us to do a little interaction. I call it the 15 peso challenge. So I hope I get your cooperation and participation. Let me just fix my screen now. Okay, so what is the 15 peso challenge? Everyone is free to join. It's a choose your lifestyle kind of game. You may have seen things like this in social media, wherein in our context, we use 15 pesos instead of dollars. But you have 15, each of you has 15 pesos. Now it's up to you to pick and choose from each tier, from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The goal is you must consume all of your 15 pesos. And then the next one is, you can only choose five. You can only choose five. So don't choose like lahat all ones, tapos nadagdagan yung 5, 5. You can't have seven things. You can only choose a combination of five. And I can't wait to see your responses. I'll click on the chat. We'll use our chat thread. Just put 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and whatever you choose. Hope you guys participate. It's just for to get us started for this interaction. Okay? Can give you some time.
Guys, we'd also love to see your answers on our comment section below. Thank you.
Okay, so yun. Thank you everyone for participating. I hope medyo na stir up yung pagpipili natin since ang topic naman natin is andun yung budgeting and savings, di ba? It makes us think na, if it's up to us to choose, hindi binibigay sa atin yung budget, kailangan talaga natin upuan at pag-isipan. Okay, so thank you everyone for participating. So what are some of our observations or takeaways? There was a finite number of choices. 15 lang yun. Yet kung makikita natin sa participation ng everyone, there were different combinations among different people here for those who have shared. So what did they do, these different people? They surveyed the options before deciding. Everyone checked out anina sa 5 tier, 4 tier, 3, 2, 1. Then they were weighing ano yung mas matimbang, which ones do I take first, how much do I have left over. Number 2 yun di ba? Counting how much you still had. And then number 3, you try to properly allocate your 15 pesos so that no more, no less ang matitira from your 15 pesos. Basically, people were choosing based on priorities and preferences. Now, isang comment kanina was, paano yung mga may partners, paano sila pumipili? That's where conversations start. But what are your priorities? What are your preferences? And I hope you take note of these two things because we will be coming back to these two words later on in this talk. So I want us to settle in with this quote muna na each of us has a unique financial circumstance. Everyone is in a certain place at a certain season, and it's no two people being in the same season at the same time. Possible merong similarities, but definitely never in the same scenario. Even siblings, even people within the same family have different financial circumstances. And what do I mean by this? To help us understand what this means, I asked some questions for personal reflection. For you to reflect on your financial circumstance. So ask yourselves this. Who am I? What are my current realities? And where do I want to be in the future? On the surface level, these questions may be answered quickly or madali lang. Kilala ko naman sino ako. But I challenge each one of you to really sit it down, try to wrestle deep within, and try to figure out how do I answer these 3 questions? Where am I? What season am I in? What are my realities? And where do I want to be 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line? To help us figure out what these answers may entail, I move on to introduce a somewhat familiar acronym for those who made it during this era. So if people here were alive na or were using their computers during the chat era, mga MRRC, Yahoo Messenger, you'd be familiar with ASL. Meron ba mga may alam what ASL stands for? Acronym? Age, sex, location. So may mga taong naabutan talaga ang era na to. Diba? Age, sex, location. So people use this to ask a basic knowledge about the person. Diba? Basic age lang, sex, location, and then you move on from there. And I want us to use the same acronym, but they stand for different things for us to answer where are we in our financial circumstance. So A stands for what's appropriate for you. Now this answers the question, who am I? Let's go further. Are you single or are you married? Are you in your teens? Are you a young adult working in a startup company? Are you retiring? Almost done with your 20 or 30 years of working? Do you live by yourself or with your family? Do you have a big family and you live with your extended family? Now we go deeper. Who pays the bills in your household, or who consumes the expenses? How many of you are working in your household? Now these are different. As we go down the line, possible half of us here today are married, half of us are still single. Where as we go down the line, even our age, even the sizes of our families, they differ. And so when we try to decide what type of financial circumstance do I belong to, we ask more questions for us to answer more clearly, or more more specifically, what is appropriate for us. Now, going further down these questions, what is our occupation? Do we earn a lot? Do we earn just enough to get by? So how much do we earn monthly, annually? These are these questions are just some of the things you may use to help answer who are you and what's appropriate for you. But don't limit it to just these, because as I mentioned, we are unique. We're unique, and our circumstances vary from person to person. As we move forward from A, we go to S. So what's sustainable in the long run? This helps to answer what are our realities. Are we residing in the city or in the province? They say living in the city has a higher standard of living. So may may conclusion yan in residing in the city. Ano ang sustainable if ever you decide to budget or to save? Kaya ba if you reside in the city or in the province? Another question is, do you commute to work, drive to work? Do you have a work from home setup wherein you don't have to spend for your transportation? Question number 3, do you have any pending liabilities that you need to pay? Bakit ko sinama to? Because these are realities. If you want to get out of debt or any loans that you may have, you may want to consider that these are your present realities. Hindi ka pwede masyadong gumastos because I still have installments to pay. May nakabudol sa akin ng insurance that I'm not sure I need 5 years down the line, but binabayaran ko na sinimulan ko na These are your present realities. Number 4, who are your dependents? If we have parents here who have a kid or multiple kids, do we have siblings or relatives who belong to the PWD, persons with disability who need more financial assistance? We have to weigh all of these things in order to us understand if we can sustain the type of saving and budgeting that we want. And what is our last letter? So tapos na tayo sa A, sa S, ngayon sa L. It should lead us to our goals. So this answers, where do I want to be in the future? Now, I want you to be true to yourself in answering this. If we just answer, syempre gusto ko maging masaya, gusto ko maging financially stable, that's still a little bit vague because that doesn't really answer where do you see yourself. So try to be more specific. These may help you. Do I want to have a family of my own? Do I and my wife or my husband want to have children? Is one enough? 2, do we want a lot of children? Now next, do I plan to retire early? I have a friend who siguro 10 years ago pa lang, nung 20s namin, he was already planning to retire early by 30. Latest niya 35. Yun yung goal niya So that was his goal. I want to retire by 35. And he has all these 10 to 15 years to prepare for that. Because yan yung goal niya He wants to see himself retiring early. Number 3, what are the things I want to own? So walang judgment dito. Kasi in the end, this would lead to what your goal is. Do I want to own a house and lot? Is having a car enough? Do I want security sa aking mga insurances, physical things? Or maybe you want your own company. Maybe you want certain investments. Di ba? Another thing is, what are the things I want to pursue? So a lot of things can come in here. Do you want to pursue your hobbies? Meron ka bang mga passion projects na given given a better financial scenario, you would want to pursue even if it does not earn a lot? Now, how about community developments? Tayo within the community of a church or within community believers, it's really a call to do ministry. Is it something you see yourself pursuing? Ministry in whatever case that may be. Do you see yourself pursuing that in the future? If these are your goals, then you should list them down. L. So just a quick recap. A, what's appropriate for you. S, what's sustainable in the long run. And L, leads you to your goals. As we get to answer these, we get closer and closer to seeing our financial circumstance. And that would help you not just copying what other people are doing. Nowadays, kasi it's easy to see in social media, oh, this person is successful. Maybe he saves. I should do what he does. Or maybe itong person naman na to, sobrang gara naman ng lifestyle niya, pero he earns a lot. Maybe try gayahin ko rin yung style niya. That definitely will not work because iba-iba tayo eh. May dependents pa sila. Meron ba silang family? May plan ba sila to have a family? These are questions only you and you alone can answer. And I hope we really take the time to sit it down. You don't have to finish all of the to answer all of these questions in one sitting din. If hindi kaya, you keep coming back a week, 2 weeks after, a month. And as you go further down these questions, the more you get to learn more about yourself. What are the things that matter to you? Now, we get a bit more technical na in discussing our main topic, which is savings and budgeting. Ngayon na alam na natin or masasagot na natin sino ba tayo, ano bang sustainable, at ano ba talaga ang goals ko, what do I really want. Let's discuss what savings mean. For those of you who are very keen on mathematics, I give this simple equation. Savings is simply income less our expenses. That's our savings. Ba? Very simple. Para hindi na natin pahirapan, we don't complicate things. So let's remember this simple equation na income minus expenses equals savings. So it refers to the money that a person has left over after they subtract out their consumer spending from their disposable income over a given period of time. Now, person has left over. So what does it mean? Magtitira ka talaga. Kung ano man income mo, kung pagkatapos mo gastusin, meron kang tira at itatabi mo yun. You set that aside and save it. Basically, that's what savings mean. So why should we save? Why is it important to save? As I mentioned a while ago, di ba? You ask yourself, what are your goals? So we save for our life goals and aspirations. These could include, as mentioned a while ago, could be a house and lot, could be car, could be acquiring assets. Maybe you want to spend a vacation, leisure. You want to travel the world. These are nice and good life goals, and you can only attain them once you save. Do you want to secure your children's future? To save up for their college fund, to be able to give them a good life, and retirement plan. So hindi naman limited dito sa four things ang life goals and aspirations. be anything under the sun. Just depends on what matters to you and what your goals are. And saving would help you reach that. Next, it can also act as emergency funds. One of the things I like about the talk from our first session sa Achieving Financial Freedom from Brother Stanley was you do not know what the future holds. Kahit sino, kahit gaano ka-successful na businessman, kahit sinong forecaster siguro or economist, hindi nila alam ano na sa future. They could forecast, they could make a very, very intellectual forecast based on research and facts. Pero no one can predict the future precisely. And this is why if we downscale on a more personal level, accidents and health risks. Sino ba makaka-predict na magkaka-health condition ang isang tao or ma-aksidente? Diba? We do not know what the future holds. That's why saving helps us to have an emergency fund. Now, how about economic recession? Our inflation of goods. We are experiencing that right now and very apt to discuss savings because what has the pandemic taught us? Maraming tao hindi nakapag-ipon or they weren't ready for the pandemic. Before 2020, our country was known as an economic tiger. We were on the rise. Maraming jobs, maraming business opportunities. Suddenly, when 2020 came along, dyan na, bumagsak mga businesses. Mga long-time names, long-time investors, parang bigla nag-disappear. Hindi na rin natin alam ano nangyayari, di ba? We don't know what would happen. There's ongoing wars right now sa Ukraine and Russia. Affects the prices of our goods. Until when ba tong inflation? We don't know. We cannot answer that. Ang kaya lang natin gawin is to secure what we can from our savings. And lastly, losing a job or source of income. Sino ba makakaalam na babagsak ang negosyo niya? Sino ba malalaman na mawawala yung pinagtatrabahuhan niya? Diba? Losing a job. What if something happens at work? We do not know these things. So having emergency contingency or emergency fund would definitely help. That's why we save. Hope to discuss emergency funds later on. Kasi that's a topic na I would really like to focus on as well. Another reason for why we should save. For others, they want to save up to have capital for investments. So this is where we move from just saving, keeping the money, to growing what we have saved. So it could be used for a potential business. You can invest there. You can acquire property. Now, when we talk about property, we're not talking about any physical thing. Example, buying cars, buying appliances, because those are not investments. Things that depreciate, things that lose value, mga nawawalan ng halaga in the long run dahil may wear and tear, naluluma, hindi siya considered as investment. So what do we talk about acquisition of property? We can talk about things like land, real estate, diba? Those are things that appreciate over time if you're able to invest correctly. We also have people who save because they want to invest in stocks. So that's for another. These things are just being run through, but I special plug na rin because 2 weeks from now, the third installment of our series would be on investments. How do you plan for your investments? So hope you guys are looking forward to that as well. And lastly, yung capital na to can be used as interest generating funds. Makapag-generate lang ng interest to earn little by little. So those are capital that you gain from saving. So what are some of the basic saving methods? Ito, we're going through basic lang like saving. One is the piggy bank or vault method. So piggy bank, if you were once kids, diba? Naturuan kayo na maglaan ng mga barya-barya, piso-piso, you save, and then if you think puno na yung piggy bank mo, you can break your piggy bank and use it. Ngayon, you can put it on a more larger scale naman na parang vault system. May vault ka sa bahay or under the bed. Yun yung piggy bank method. Why? Because you have physical cash on hand. Hawak-hawak mo yung pera mo. Nasa bahay, nakatago. But this will not yield interest. It's not a tree, it's not a plant that would just grow basta itago mo. Hindi mag-grow yun. Next saving method is the bank savings or checking account. Depends on which type you open with your trusted bank. Now, ano difference ito with the piggy bank? Convenient pa rin naman when you invest in a bank. When you deposit your cash there, it's for easy retrieval, deposit, and withdrawal anytime. May pagbabayaran ka, pwede mo i-transfer. Especially now in our digital age, our phones, our computers can access our savings. One click of a button, kaya na natin mag-transfer. Diba? But banks yield minimal interest. Ngayon, di ko sinasabi na perfectly like safe kunyari even if a bank. Kasi meron naman, we've encountered news or issues concerning scandals sa mga banks. High profile managers performing theft, doing things sa mga accounts ng mga tao. But as long as you have a reputable bank, as long as that bank can assure their customers that they'll work out their security issues, having a bank saving is pretty safe naman. Actually, later discuss ko yun about safety issues dito sa saving methods ba. Dito sa third one is money market accounts or mutual funds. So there are more restrictions with regards to withdrawing your cash, but these may yield higher interest than a normal bank savings account. However, you encounter the risk of losing cash, especially if markets are down. So these are money market accounts or mutual funds wherein para siyang investment na rin pero medyo safe pa din naman siya kasi nakadepend pa rin naman siya sa mutual funds na nagha-handle. But there is the risk of losing cash. And yung last saving method is certificate of deposit or what we call time deposit. So itong pinaka-limited access to cash because you cannot touch your money over long periods of time. However, it will yield higher rates of interest. So, kumbaga, mas hindi siya interest yung hinahabol mo dito eh. Hindi siya like naka-dependent on the market, like a money market. So, hindi pa to pasok sa mga investments because hindi naman siya these aren't ones where you're really in the stock market or you really invest in businesses. These are still considered basic saving methods. Meron lang give and take with liquidity. Liquid na, ano ibig sabihin ng liquid? Andyan yung access mo to cash. Bakit? Kasi dito sa time deposit, it takes a long time, matagal na period for you to be able to withdraw your cash. Kahit mas mataas interest rate. Dito sa piggy bank, wala naman interest eh, pero anytime makukuha mo yung cash mo, you may use it. So concerning security, kung tatanungin mo lahat naman to may risk eh. Sino makapagsabi that putting your money in a piggy bank or sa sarili mong bahay will not be stolen? Di rin natin masasabi yun. Pwedeng magka-calamity sa house, pwedeng may thief. Basically, what life tells us is wala namang assurance eh. The more we hold on to cash, the more we hold on to what's safe lang, the more we don't know what's in the future. At the end is, we do our research, we do yung risk analysis. Saan ba ako mas kampante? Saan ba ako mas, kumbaga, if I talk it out with other people, if we share, where do I have more faith in? And at the end of the day, it's really up to you eh. What type of lifestyle? Do you need cash right away? Can you live without without withdrawing cash kasi meron kang pang-ikot. You have money that you can rotate muna so you can put it in time deposit. It depends. So basically, I just wanted to introduce what are your options with regards to saving. So is saving the same as investing? Savings are highly liquid and available for immediate use. Again, I'm using the term liquid, di ba? Liquidity means it's easily accessible, kaya mo magka-cash on hand. But meanwhile, investing puts the money at risk of loss but is offset by a positive expected return over time. So yun yung difference. Dito sa four methods natin of saving, kahit pa paano mas minimal yung loss eh. But once you invest your money, it's not a guarantee that lahat ng pera na ininvest mo will flourish, will have positive returns. Wala naman guarantee eh. But andun yung potential. It's the potential for a good and positive expected return. I hope we get to attend this session on investing then 2 weeks from now. So in a nutshell, the habit of saving is itself an education, fosters every virtue, teaches self-denial, cultivates the sense of order, trains to forethought, and so broadens the mind. I hope may value sa atin ang saving because hindi lang naman siya about what we store, about the money that we store and keep. As this quote says, diba, it's an education. We get to learn. We get to learn how we spend and how we can save. We get to learn self-denial. Pag nagsasave ka, meaning meron kang mga hindi ginagastos, di ba? You gain certain virtues din. The virtue of waiting, the virtue of discipline, organization, may sense of order, and you plan for the future, di ba? Trains to forethought. You plan for the future, you plan ahead. If I spend this now, what impact does it have on my future goals? Lahat to natatrain sa atin. So the habit or the discipline of saving will greatly benefit us. And I encourage each of you to really practice the habit of saving. Okay. So, pero what happens naman if mas marami akong expense and nangyayari to? Hindi lahat nagkaka-savings, hindi dahil hindi nila tinatabi. But even if gustuhin man nila magtabi, minsan the expenses far outweigh their income. So, kung kanina, income less expenses equal savings, pag ibalik-balik ta rin natin yung equation, a negative income with a higher expense will incur debt. And what do we call this? This is a deficit. Once expenditures, mga ginagastos mo, outweigh the outcome, it results to negative savings. Negative na yung save. Wala ka ng ipon, may utang ka pa. So negative savings is indicative of household debt or a negative net worth. Bumabawas, meaning, kung itong buwan, if this month you did not have savings and you incurred a negative savings or debt, then next month, you still have to pay that off. Minus ka agad. What is the reason why we incur debt? And I think this quote may help answer why. Too many people spend money they haven't earned to buy things they don't want to impress people they don't like. Hits close to home, ano? I'm pretty sure all of us here have at least once in their lives spent something na eventually years down the line we did regret na I didn't really need that or di ko naman ganyan kagusto talaga. It was for dahil social status lang, dahil gusto ng ibang tao kaya I wanted to impress someone pero di ko naman ganyan ka-close din yung someone eh. 'Di ba? And this is the more we we ignore this fact na we're too tempted to spend money that on things na hindi naman ganyan ka-important, the more that we fall into this trap. So, saan ko ba narinig tong quote na to? I actually heard it from Dr. Andrew Lewson when he had the talk. He does this talk talaga on achieving a debt-free lifestyle. I would recommend for others to get a hold of this book, The Debt-Free Lifestyle. Very practical siya, and the tips, the principles that he shares are very easy to digest. Yet, kung whether matagal ka nang nagwo-work, matagal ka nang nag-iipon, or you're just new to savings and budgeting, you will definitely learn a lot. So what are some of the things that I want to share from this book? May mga financial traps. We have 5 financial traps. One is the lack of knowledge. So a couple of verses on lack of knowledge. Proverbs 22:7. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. Lack of knowledge, why? Because not to overgeneralize that the poor have no knowledge. Pero this can be a scenario of ours, or this is real na minsan the capitalists of this world, the rich people, really do want to keep the people poor. They take away education and knowledge from them in order to keep them poor. After all, limited naman ang resources, finite ang resources. Someone wants to have a bigger share of the pie. And kung bigger share ng pie, may magkukulang. The borrower is slave to the lender. So bakit? Kasi minsan hindi nga alam ng borrower na malaki na pala utang niya dito sa lender. It's for a lack of knowledge. In Hosea, it says, "My people are destroyed from lack of knowledge." So, what is a good equalizer? It's attending talks like this, I guess. Talks like this, mga financial talks. We gain here and there. We get nuggets from different people who've been there, who have been in financial crises and have come out of it, and we learn from them. Nakakatulong yun. So I hope it's a constant reminder to each of us never to stop learning. We always seek knowledge concerning financial practices. Number 2 is easy credit. Too many money lenders resort to quick loans. So, pag mabilis makautang, ang tendency, mas gusto natin mangutang, di ba? So, what are things that we can pawn? ATM card na lang, bigay ko para makautang ang pera. We have pawn shops. We have a lot of pawn shops in our country. Mapa city, mapa province. And basta may lender, may pawn shop, for sure may client. Bakit? Because these are quick loans. So, PIN numbers, binibigay na lang yung PIN numbers to cash card accounts or bank accounts dahil kailangan na ng mga tao ang pera. If we jumble the words, the letters of loans, it spells as lason. Actually, loans are poisonous na. Why? It affects the peace and sanity of a person. Imagine, a person having lots of debt because of easy credit, mga nangutang, kung kaya nila makatulog ng mahimbing sa gabi. More often than not, hindi. Walang peace and sanity. So another debt trap, high interest rates. In the Bible, the Hebrew term for interest is usury. So it's referred to as the bite of a snake. So pansin mo, the bite of a snake starts like that. 2 red dots lang, bite of a snake. Where the longer time for the bite to sink in, the more it affects it affects the arm, the whole arm na, and then until it reaches the heart. grabe yung magiging effect over a long period of time. Ganyan ang interest rate. Siguro sa start, maririnig nyo 3%, 4%. Maliit lang naman yun. For 1,000, ang 4%, 40 pesos, maliit lang. But just as any snake bite, kailan nagiging lethal yung poison? Kailan naging lethal yung interest? It's when over time it accumulates. Debt trap number 4, guaranteeing others' debts. So, paggarantiya. In Proverbs 6:1-3, ito Proverbs. So, hindi lang uso nowadays to guarantee others' debts. Even way back during biblical times, issue na to. It reads, "My son, if you have put security for your neighbor, if you have shaken hands in pledge for a stranger, you have been trapped by what you said, ensnared by the words of your mouth. So do this, my son, to free yourself, since you have fallen into your neighbor's hands. Go to the point of exhaustion and give your neighbor no rest." So by all means, sinasabi ng Proverbs ng ni Solomon, by all means, free yourself from that guarantee. Hindi nga siya sa utang eh. Ito yung paggarantiya lang ng utang ng ibang tao. Kumbaga, if we step into the problems and loans of other people, that in itself, we have to flee from by all means. So ano ba kasi problema, di ba? Proverbs 11:15, "Whoever puts up security for a stranger will surely suffer, but whoever refuses to shake hands in pledge is safe." Another one who has no sense shakes hands in pledge and puts up security for a neighbor. Parang folly, di ba? Folly, or it's foolish to be in debt because of another person. Hindi naman ikaw yung nangutang eh. Hindi naman ikaw yung may atraso sa borrower. Hindi naman ikaw. But sometimes we think, pwede ko naman i-help. Kamag-anak ko naman. This is my mom, this is my brother, this is a close relative, this is a close friend. Maybe I can guarantee their debts. One of the things the Bible teaches us is, wag. Delikado yan. Because why? You will fall into this trap. Hindi ikaw yung nag-make niyan, pero it will keep coming back to haunt you. And I hope we understand in our context. Marami naman sa atin nakakapag-save. There are a lot of people who are very thrift, matipid. There are people who put their money to good use. They save. Pero here comes a relative, here comes a close friend needing to borrow money. Tayo as Filipinos, we're so quick to help. We're so quick to be, kumbaga maawain, pakikisama, matulungin tayo. Not that it's a bad thing. Again, we have to put all things into context, but given yung topic natin is on saving and budgeting, if tayo mismo we're in a tight spot, we have our own families to take care of, you better think twice before you guarantee another person's debt. You better think twice about being a good Samaritan ng basta-basta. Because why? What if ikaw yung ma-fall into the trap? Paano mo pa matutulungan yung tao? Ikaw mismo nabaon sa utang because you help another person. How do you be a good mother or father to your kid, di ba? Utang na ibang tao, pinoproblema mo, sarili mong anak walang makakain. And that's often the problem with us. That's often I'm not generalizing everyone, but for those of you who are in this situation, maybe you need to take a look. Bakit ka nga nagagarantiya? Is it still wise? Is it apt for you, appropriate for you? And kung pag-usapan sustainable, definitely hindi to sustainable. When does it stop, diba? How can you control other people being in debt? That's never under your control. So last is ikaw mismo, you incurred credit debt. So credit cards. Credit cards are good. They can help, but it takes great discipline and organization for you to pay your credit cards. Once the full amount has not been paid for any credit card user, interest will only add up. Sabi nga di ba? People tend to buy more because of credit. Study shows that people spend 25% more than they intend to because meron namang credit card, they pay more. But if you learn what compounded interest means, every late payment may interest yan. Ngayon, nagko-compound ang interest na yan. To cut to the chase, if you have 10,000 na credit mo at di mo siya binayaran, yung 3.5% mo becomes 51% in a span of 12 months. So kung 10,000, if you credited 10,000 and have not paid any of it after 12 months, your credit has already ballooned to 15,100, more than half pa ng inutang mo. And what happens if you pay more? You tend to worry more. You don't get to sleep peacefully, and you fight more. Studies show that 70% of marital issues also stem from monetary problems. 70% because hindi maayos yung paghahandle ng pera within the household. So with the vow of till death do us part, eventually it becomes till death do us part. Couples part ways, and that's the reality here today, here in our context sa Philippine. So ano ba dapat, 'di ba? If ayaw natin magka-deficit, if importante sa atin ang saving, maybe we could realign yung equation, i-shift natin yung income, we less savings, and that becomes our expense. So we don't have to spend more, and we also have savings. So what is this called? This is budgeting. You know your income, you set aside your savings, and you know what are your expenses. Budgeting is a spending plan that maps out the amount of income and the amount of expenses during a specific period of time. Many bills such as housing costs, utilities, subscriptions, and more are due on a monthly basis. So the typical budget is prepared for an entire month. So this is budgeting. You categorize your spending, you categorize them, and you kind of expect how much you're going to pay each and every month. How do we start with budgeting? Ito, I have written down a few steps of budgeting. Number 1, we write down our goals. Lagi tayong bumabalik, di ba? We keep coming back to goals. Why? Because that's a big part of attaining financial freedom. Ano ba gusto mo mag-gain? It's really about what matters to you, what your values are, and what you plan to achieve. Kaya ka nagsasave, kaya ka nagbabudget. Kundi mapapagod ka lang rin. Once you don't have your goals in place, wala para saan? Lahat all these savings. I remember people I've met or people close to me then who all these years of working, they've already accumulated a lot. They've already achieved a lot in the sense of financial security. Secure na sila, secure na mga pamilya nila. Pero hanggang ngayon, hindi pa nila alam saan nila gagamitin yung pera nila. They just know they have to keep saving. And that becomes medyo aimless eh. Bakit? Ano ba kasi goal nila? Gusto lang ba nila yung feeling of having money? For me personally, kulang yun. Kasi kung yung feeling lang na merong pera, just like what's written in the Bible, kung if God takes you away right here, right now, everything na binild mo, everything na tinabi mo or sinave mo, saan mo pupunta? Wala rin eh. Wala rin naman makikinabang eh. Diba? But if we have our own goals, if we know who it's for, what we're building towards, then may meaning. Even if we are taken out of this world, everything we've built, all the goals we've tried to accomplish or we have accomplished, those would mean something. Yun yung legacy natin. So write down your goals, both short-term and long-term. Some goals can be saved across a period of time. Diba? Travel funds, your kids' college plans, education plans. Ngayon, I talked about legacy. May mga tao, goal nila, ayaw nila na maging may utang. Ayaw nila to be known as people who have a lot of debt. And that's a good goal. That's a good goal na hindi ikaw isang tao na malakas mangutang, na hindi marunong maghawak ng pera. Kaya nga, I put here, some goals need to be paid for. If you've already incurred loans, you have installments, maybe your goal could be to eliminate these loans, to pay for them one by one, to settle the principal amount until loan-free or debt-free ka na. Now, set a timeline for when you can implement your budget. Yung mga short-term goals, example, I want to go on a vacation next year. So you have 12 months to save to have that goal. And that's okay. You set a timeline for mga education funds. Let's say 20 years down the line bago pa magka-college anak mo. Then you have 20 years little by little to save for that. It doesn't have to be one big thing kagad. You work your way towards your goals. What's important is you plan ahead for your future. Step 2, you determine your income. Pag yung goal mo, okay, realistic ba? Now, kaya ba with your income? Prepare a budget ahead of time before your income arrives. Bakit? So that you don't misuse any fund before allocating them. Other people, weakness nila once they get a hold of money. They feel like they need to spend right away. Maliit na bagay lang naman eh. It's just it's not even 10% of my money I can afford. Pero once ganyan yung mindset, hawak mo yung pera paunti-unti, you don't get to budget na eh. So make sure you budget before your income arrives. Include all types of income. Andyan yung wage mo, yung salary. What if may gift? You know you'll be receiving gifts, you have refunds, rebates, commission. Include all these kasi ito part of the inflow of cash para sa'yo. Now, use a conservative approach. Huwag mo naman expect na all the time, sure naman may dadating, sure may love gift ako this month. Paano kung wala, di ba? It's better to understate rather than overstating your income. So how do you determine your income if hindi pa dumadating and nag-conservative approach ka? You can get the average from your previous months. That will help you. Average out mo, mga approximately magkano ba umaabot sa akin, dumadating sa akin. And use that conservative approach. It's better na meron ka na lang tira, may sobrang income, kesa akala mo ang laki-laki ng income. Tapos once binudget mo, once you pay for your expenses, kulang pala. That's why we use a conservative approach. 3, you set aside your tithes and gifts before even budgeting for your expenses. Now, tithing is a command from God. And I personally believe this to be true. Hindi siya optional. Bakit? Because at the end of the day, yung tithes natin, these are what is the Lord's. They belong to God. Sabi sa Proverbs 3:9, honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Now, pwede naman to off the record, but I personally believe na tithes come from the heart and it's something between tayo personally and God. Kasi we can be strict and all naman. Basta 10% in cash. Basta 10% ng minsan nga pinag-argue pa. Net ba or gross? After taxes, before taxes. To be honest, there are a lot of ways you can read through what tithes are. But I believe important yun yung relationship ni God. Important how you talk to God. If you ask me if there are people who would render services, what if skill-based yung asset niya, di ba? if he renders his skills for free and offers it as his first fruits or tithes, I believe it's between that person and God. Eh. So it's a challenge for each of us then. Ba? How do we look at tithes? How important is tithing to us? Do, and how close is God to our hearts opposite money, di ba? Opposite whatever we have or in possession of. At the end, when you budget tithes first before expenses, nasa set aside mo na what belongs to God. And I hope that this becomes a helpful tool din for all of us. Pasok rin na rin naman dito ang tithes if gifts or donations you plan to give. So set them aside before budgeting so that you know how much money you have left for expenses. Now determine savings. You allocate a portion of your money for your savings. Ngayon, you determined your income, you have set aside your tithes and gifts. Now, you set aside another one for savings. Kanina pinag-usapan natin saving, di ba? So these will be based on the goals you have listed. Goals can be categorized as known expenses or unknown expenses. Now, this is where we get into what an emergency fund is. Bakit siya unknown expense? Kasi hindi mo naman alam, kaya nga siya emergency eh. You don't know what the future holds. Hindi mo alam kailan mo kailangan gamitin to. And to everyone here, our hope and prayer is we never have to use this emergency fund. Kasi the moment we need to use this emergency fund, ibig sabihin, gipit na rin life and death. And you have to determine your parameters for using your emergency fund. Paano kung emergency fund natin, example, wala na, nasira cellphone ko eh, emergency, kailangan ko na bumili. Then that's up to you. But personally, I would say, be hard and strict with your emergency fund. Kung kaya, as much as possible, wag kayo maging lax, wag kahit anong emergency pwede na. Minsan nga, kahit may sakit na yung tao, kung kayang wag galawin ang emergency fund. Why? Because we reach scenarios where oftentimes it becomes a life and death situation. Ngayon, sino makakasagot kung ano ang emergency fund or hindi? Kayo lang. Because of your goals. Again, you go back to your values. You go back to what's important to you. Is it family? Is it life? Is it an education? Is it your education or your skills? You go back to your core and you determine what your parameters are. Emergency fund. Kasi hindi natin alam what the future holds. 5, we move on. Okay, natabi na natin yung mga savings natin, emergency funds natin. You go to expenditures. So, not all expenditures naman are set in stone or fixed. Meron mga fixed. I call this the non-negotiables, di ba? Bills na nagiging part na siya talaga ng lifestyle natin whether we like it or not. Eh. If we're renting, if the electricity we consume. Nowadays, siguro 20 years ago, hindi naman normal bill ang internet eh. It's more of a lifestyle expense. Pero nowadays, everyone needs internet. Everyone needs access to it. So medyo naging part na siya of non-negotiable bills. But what can we adjust? Living expenses. So these are purchases in relation to your lifestyle. Example, the food you eat. Ang food mo ba ay sa mamahaling restaurant, mga fast food, or food mo is okay na mga lutong bahay from the groceries? Pag transportation, kailangan ba 6-seater na grab car or can you ride a bike to go to work? Subscriptions, mga iba sa atin dito, we have Netflix subscriptions, we have kung ano-anong subscription, pero we don't even have time to watch, di ba? So these are more of lifestyle expenses and it's up to you whether tingin mo priority mo to or hindi. Again, we go back to these two words, diba? You get to decide on your priorities and preferences. Which one you think can stay and which one you're okay with going. You list down your expenses as needs or wants, essential or non-essential. The more you understand the needs, your needs versus wants, you can cut down on unnecessary spend. Lastly, okay na. Nakapag-budget ka na, next month na. Now you evaluate. You list down your actual budget and spending after each month to evaluate your performance. So as much as possible, as you continue on, you stick to your categories as much as possible. But see also if you are overspending or underspending. Bakit? Kasi we need to be realistic. Possible ito yung goal natin. Possible this is how we plan to budget. But realistically speaking, mataas mga goods. Realistically speaking, summer ngayon, mataas, mainit talaga. Kailangan multiple electric fans, kailangan nag-aircon ng ganitong time. Realistic. So, adjust na lang kayo. Adjust kayo with your budget and make changes as you deem fit. Diba? Budgeting takes practice, consistency, discipline, and self-control. It's okay to adjust. I believe there's no perfect budget na inupuan mo, ito yung sinet mong budget, lifetime okay na yan. Bakit? We go through seasons. Nag-a-adjust din yung income natin, nag-a-adjust yung mga expenses. And even the rate of bills, rate ng mga electricity, gas expenses, these adjust from time to time. So I hope you're also willing to be flexible, to adjust as you deem fit. So always keep in mind na it's a process. It's a process. You run through it, you improve, and you gain discipline and self-control along the way. So I'll just list down a couple of budgeting techniques, but basically these you can research on your own. Available naman sila. But a few budgeting techniques that I found to be helpful, kung yari gusto niyo ng peg, gusto niyo ng template, and then you adjust from there. The 10-20-70 method, you type 10%, you save 20%, spend 70%. For others, ganito sila. Tinatabi na kagad nila, they set aside the tithes, and then they divide everything into needs, wants, savings. 50-30-20%, 20 method, pwede rin to. The envelope system, na hindi siya, I'm a fan of novelty pa din. So there are people who really find this effective pa rin na they get to see their envelopes. They see their cash going into the envelopes. Dun sila kumukuha. Pag ubos na, once the cash runs out there, then they don't spend na. You get to decide on your categories. You get to decide magkano i-allocate mo. But physically seeing your envelopes would help you. Now, hindi naman siya kailangan envelope. Pwede naman siya glass jars. Pwede naman siyang nasa wallet. Depende sa'yo. But basically, this is what they call an envelope system. Physically mo nakikita saan napupunta yung cash. Another budgeting technique is having an Excel sheet. Diba? Kung mahilig kayo pag-type, mahilig kayo mag-record, and Excel sheets have good may calculator built in na sa Excel sheet. You can input formulas. Other people can do this. You can print it out. Monthly ba kayo mag-Excel? Daily, annually, depends. Pero may budget, diba? And lastly, phones natin ngayon, phones and computers. We now have access to tons and loads of budgeting apps. Gusto nyo medyo localized, naka-peso, kahit hindi naka-dollar yan, kaya na. You get to put your categories. Downloadable. Basically, a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it all went. Alam nyo, it's better that you put in these categories and you get to decide saan sila napupunta at alam mo. Now, in wrapping all of these up, siguro question nyo, can I get rich with saving and budgeting? Kasi there's no one formula to getting rich. Present realities natin, and I'm sure this is true to a lot of Filipinos, to a lot of us. there are people living off paycheck to paycheck. Paycheck to paycheck meaning, pag pumasok yung salary, meron na kaagad mga pagbabayaran. Ubus talaga kaagad yan. At hindi easy to save. I don't want us to come off judging na hindi kasi sila mag-save and budget eh. Now that's a possibility, but realistically speaking din talaga, there are a lot of people that even if they wanted to save, mahirap ang buhay. The circumstances do not provide a good good environment for people. Totoo 'yun. Kung gusto man nila to have additional income, minsan mahirap. There are people who need to spend 2 to 4 hours a day to commute or on their transportation. Paano pa sila makakaraket, 'di ba? 8 hours sa work, 4 hours sa biyahe, 8 hours na nga lang tulog, 'di ba? Ano pa bang buhay? There are families na present reality nila, they really have big families. They were born into big families na mga iba walang work, extended families. So, walang formula to getting rich. But so bakit pa tayo maglo-learn ng saving and budgeting, 'di ba? We're in this series to attain, we want to learn to attain financial freedom. So I hope sa atin, the goal is to attain financial freedom instead of getting rich. Now, being rich is not bad. Hindi siya mali. If kaya naman natin maging mayaman, bakit hindi, di ba? However, if it keeps us from achieving and appreciating the important things in life, we go back to our goals, di ba? We're rich pero wala pala tayong goal, hindi natin alam para saan to. Then what is the point of attaining all that? So, this is where we end. I hope kung may mga questions, I guess may question answer portion pa naman. Pero I hope you got to learn things, both principles and practical tips in saving and budgeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Justin. The floor is now open for those who have questions or clarifications regarding what we have just heard about savings and budgeting. This pandemic talaga parang everyone was enlightened na sobrang importante pala talaga to have a portion of your income to be saved kasi sobrang uncertain na no one saw the pandemic coming. So lahat parang oops, sobrang importante pala nito. Anyway, our Zoom chat is open for any questions. Also, the Google Docs. You can submit your questions if shy kayo magpakilala. Pero meron isang nag-submit na so far. Dalawa actually. So, yung first muna, Pastor Justin, I will just read it. What advice can you give to those who are breadwinners to their families na hindi masyado nakaka-save dahil sagad talaga yung income nila?
Okay, so what advice? So breadwinner sila, so sila lang nag-earn and then di sila makapag-save.
Yeah.
Hindi kasi sila makapag-save.
Nagbibigay talaga lahat ng extra dun sa family.
Well, I go back to yung context, di ba? Yung family ba niya is nagpro-provide siya dahil may mga bata pa? May mga bata na education pinapaaral. Ngayon, one thing na very valuable talaga or equalizer when we talk about finances is education. Ngayon, kung may mga pinapaaral dyan na bata, and kunyari, bakit hindi siya makakasave, I would say, I would refer to education as a good investment pa rin. Bakit? Hindi naman forever ang pag-aaral. Pag-aaral ngayon meron na tayong K-12, may K-12 na, wherein if needed na talaga ng work, needed na mag-work ng mga bata, they have the necessary skills or ano na sila, parang ready na sila to go into the outside world and they may help their family. Ngayon, what if ang situation is hindi naman paaral, talagang one breadwinner naman and able-bodied yung mga iba pero talagang umaasa sa breadwinner. And that's also the reality in a lot of households, Filipino households. lalo na OFWs. OFWs malaki kumita at dahil malaki sila kumita at mga pang-uwi nila, the family does not feel the need to work anymore. So you assess the situation. What type of family but do you have? Do you have a young family na kailangan at this point talaga kailangan mo magtiis dahil abot naman sa point na makakapag-work or luluwag. Ngayon, pag natapos na mag-aral yung mga bata, mas kaya na nila mag-help to providing for the family. Hopefully luluwag makakapag-save na. That I would suggest na kaya naman tiis, worth it naman tiisin yun. For the other, kung na-assess mo na talagang umaasa lang sa'yo, even if able-bodied naman yung family members, then you ask yourself why. Dahil ba sa'yo? Dahil ba binibaby mo sila? Dahil dahil you give too much na rin. So maybe it's good na rin to go back to your goals. Yan na ba goal mo? Goal mo is to always provide for your family. Ngayon, kung sabi mo you want to save, 'di ba? Then medyo in conflict na kaagad yung you want to save for yourself and you want to be there for your family. You start to weigh which one's more important and you go with it.
So for all the breadwinners out there, it's very important to evaluate and to
Mm.
assess. Is it necessary? Is it essential yung pinaprovide natin sa families natin? Or ano na lang to, parang kaya na to tiisin, lifestyle na lang ba to? So, kailangan talaga pag-isipan and planuhin din. Ngayon, another question that we have is, paano naman to those who always answer every time you ask, do you have savings? Ang lagi nilang sagot, ah, hindi nga enough yung income ko for my expenses. Paano pa ako makakapag-save? Parang it's a generally very used up reason
Mm.
or justification for those na wala talagang savings. What can you advise to those people?
To those people na may yung common sagot, no? Common sagot na hindi nga kasya.
Mm-mm.
Well, you, you'd ask them naman na divide na ba nila? Were they able to write down lahat ng ginagastos nila? Again, our talk about budgeting is knowing where all of your money went. Ngayon, kung alam mo na lahat kung saan lahat pumupunta, it's up to us naman to determine whether we can live with where our money goes. We can live with that or nanghihinayang tayo. More often than not sa mga taong sumasagot na hindi nga kasya, 'di ba? They don't even know to the cent, down to the cent saan pumupunta. At crucial 'yun. Kasi example na lang mga maliliit na bagay. Let's say, lagay na natin sa pa-candy-candy. Pero alam naman natin, realistically speaking, mga ganyan, may mga bisyo rin minsan, di ba? Minsan may mga bisyo, ganyan, maliit-maliit. Hindi naman nila binibilang yun, di ba? The little things sometimes add up to become big expenses that we don't know doon pala napupunta. So I would recommend or advise them to really know where does your money go to. Ngayon, if your money goes to naka-list down na lahat down to the cent and talagang kulang, again, reality naman talaga, third world country tayo, mababa yung wages, opportunities, hindi rin talaga ganyan kadami. So, ang next thing is kung feel mo down to the last sentence, alam mo, hirap talaga. You gain skills. Again, education, skills, you try out, again, you you try to look for opportunities pa din. So, both ways naman, assess your lifestyle again, go back, is this really necessary? Baka may mga nami-miss out lang sila maliliit na bagay. If hindi talaga kaya, then punta ka dun sa increase mo talaga income mo, hahanapan mo yung kaya ka walang savings kasi kulang rin yung income. May term naman talaga na kayod eh. May seasons talaga in life na kailangan kumayod.
Mm-mm. So talagang it takes so much discipline and control and responsibility kung totoong gusto mo talaga genuinely to save no matter how much or how less income yung nare-receive mo. Uh, okay, so if there are any more questions, please, we are still open for them. Kahit one last na lang para we can clarify or anything beneficial for other listeners as well. Okay, sige. Mag one last quick na tayo. Actually, meron din iba pa nag-send. But then, again, to remind everyone na we still have our podcast version. It will be in Spotify. So, mas magko-concentrate tayo more on the question and answer doon. Okay, so to wrap this up na lang, one last question. How do you divide your expenses or yung percentage of your wants and needs or etc.? What do you currently use personally?
Ako personally,
Yung personal question na.
sige,
Pero gusto niya
ako
malaman kung ano, kailan yung portion na pwede na mag-wants versus sa needs mo.
Actually, nag-change yan eh. Nag-change. Yun yung gusto ko sabihin bakit may seasons in life, bakit i-assess mo what's sustainable. Ito, during the pandemic kasi, I got married. So nag-change yan from singlehood to now you're living with a partner. So dalawa na kayo. So iiba yung income pero at the same time expenses niyo mag-iiba. So pero currently yun na nga yung shift from dati mas kaya na kunyari kaya ko to give a bigger portion sa wants. Bakit? Kasi ano naman in our context naman 'di ba? Hindi naman tayo parang western na as long as we can work or we're independent, we move out of our parents' house. I mean, there are people who do that, pero at least in my case, hindi din naman. So, mga expenses or bills, sa household namin, sa family namin, di ba? Even if mag-contribute man ako, hindi siya ganyan kalaking bagay. And ngayon na, kunyari, married na ako I live with my wife, we have bills to pay. So, yun yung una talaga. Sinit down, inassess namin magkano ba ang kuryente, magkano ang rent, magkano ang tubig, internet, pati mga telephone plans, mga Globe postpaid plans. Ganun. So, inupuan yun. So, ilang percentage yun. Ngayon, doon ka na mag-a-assess, okay, ilan na sa lifestyle yung kaya pang i-allocate? Will it be cheaper na magluto na lang sa bahay, magbaon? Or can we afford pa rin to keep eating out daily? So yun yung mga bagay na inassess. So may changes naman. If you ask me naman kung yari doon sa bills part talaga, I would say 50 to 60% naman fixed expense talaga sa bills. So you're managing a household. So what's left, 'di ba, kung doon sa 60, what's left is basically just 30 or 20% for other needs. Ay, wants. Tama, wants. Kasi yung basic needs naman nandun na sa 60%. So yun, 60, nasa 60-20, tapos ayun, 10% tithes. So mga gifts, actually gifts hindi naman lagi. Pero minsan, yun na, you have friends who have special occasions, you give gifts, so nilalabas din naman yun. So 60-20, tapos savings mga 10%, 10%, ganun.
All right. So there you go with the ratios for those nagtatanong ano yung ratio dapat for wants and needs. Okay, thank you
Actually,
so
wala
much.
naman dapat. Wala naman siya dapat. Depende nga talaga again, you go back. Pero yun, yung nilagay ko naman na 10-20-70 and the 50-30-20, those are guides. Those can act as your guides. At least you know, there are people who use that. Kung wala kayong time to sit down pa right now, easy way, okay, 50% needs, 30% wants, and then 20% savings. It's an easy template. But I would personally suggest to sit down your expenses
These are
para
all
alam nyo.
templates lang. Dapat appropriate pa rin sa context nyo kung paano
Mm.
i-apply. Okay, thank you so much for that, Pastor Justin. So before we completely wrap up this session, we will give the floor to Pastor Sherwin to plug in about the 412 Spotify collaboration. Pastor Sherwin?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I'm just gonna share the screen with you. Wait lang. Sorry, medyo maingay na. I'm actually outside. Ayan. All right. So, thank you again, Justin, for sharing our second session, savings and budgeting. And Jessica and I are excited to schedule with you an interview. No? So, last month we had our first session, "What is Financial Freedom?" with Anya Stanley Ong Cheng. And sorry, this is a different ano. Ayan. So, what is 412? Now, 412 is a youth fellowship officially formed last October 2021. And it derived from First Timothy 412. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. We are excited to share with you. If you could tune in to the 412 Youth podcast. And we had our first episode in partnership with Nest. So, kasama dyan si Ate Tahirana. Nilagay ko lang siya dyan. So, Anya Stanley is, of course, an entrepreneur and a friend of 412 Youth and has been in the seafood and restaurant business, general merchandising, and printing. He is also currently in seafood import and export and a supplier of local stores and restaurants. Part owner of a bakery, oil and eggs and supply. So we're glad because our episode 5 is in partnership with Nest. And we already launched the episode 5 in Spotify and first ever in Facebook. So it is entitled Ears and Finances, Faith and Fullness. So uh, please look at the screen and feel free to scan the QR code so that you will be redirected to Spotify and Facebook link. Also, you can screenshot, so that you have a reference later on. So ito yung makikita niyo sa Facebook and ito naman yung makikita niyo sa Spotify. But we would also like to plug in, if you could also visit our website, 412youth.card, CARRD.co, to know more about our um, fellowship. And thank you, Nes, for the opportunity. We're excited because episode 6 onwards, we will be interviewing our speakers, no? Specifically si Justin. No? Sana marami tayong matutunan. And there's more to come for our ministry. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you so much for that, Pastor Sherwin. And I hope everyone will have the time to access the 412 Spotify account. And once again, thank you so much everyone for coming and for listening sa ating second installment of our next series, The Art of Financial Freedom. So just an announcement, there may be a possible interchange with our last two remaining sessions, investing properly and debt and credit card management. But definitely on August 25, we will meet you. So we will just announce kung which one of the last two remaining yung gagawin nating session. But definitely we will see you on August 25, 2022. But of course, please stand by for further announcement. So this is to wrap up every this night. So thank you so much again, everyone. This has been Tahira, your host for tonight, and we'll see you on our next session. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.